Hey, happy Grandparents' Day. Today is National Grandparents' Day, not National Black Grandmother's Day, but National Grandparents' Day. And today we celebrate the love, wisdom, and legacy that grandparents pour into our families every day. So whether you are cooking dinner at home, going out today, spending time with the grandchildren, just tell your grandparents, happy grandparents today. Give them that acknowledgement that they so deserve. Welcome back to today's Black Grandmothers podcast. I'm your host, Tonya Jackson, and today we're diving into a story that isn't just about numbers, it's about lives, families, and future. So, over the past few months, over 300,000 Black women have left or been laid off. Think about that for a moment. 300,000 voices, talents, and incomes gone from the corporate workspace. And yet, this crisis is barely making headlines. This isn't just a statistic, it's a signal of systemic challenges, policy changes, and harsh reality of how quickly progress can be undone when the support structures are pulled away. So for many of us, this isn't new. For many Black women, this isn't new. Black women have always carried the weight of being both providers and caregivers, often the backbone of households and communities. But what happens when the opportunities to provide are stripped away, when federal job cuts, the dismantling of DEI programs, and the realities of caregiving all collide at once? So today, we're going to talk about what that means for us, our families, and how we can turn this setback into power. So grab your coffee, your journal, just a quiet moment, because this conversation is more, it's more than about jobs. It's about our worth, our place, and our power. So why does this matter? Between February and July 2025, even and I'm sure more has occurred in August, Black women, making them the only major female demographic to experience such losses. So by contrast, white women gained 142,000 jobs. Hispanic women gained 176,000, and white men gained 365,000 in the same period. So, what does that say? Black women are often the backbone of our households. This isn't just about job loss, it's loss of income, it's loss of housing stability, community well-being, just being able to buy groceries, get your basic needs. So when Black women are pushed out of the workforce, the ripple effects, it hits everyone. It hits everyone in the family. So what's driving these layoffs? Federal downsizing and budget cuts targeting agencies where Black women are overrepresented. Rollback of DEI programs that help recruit and retain Black women. Overrepresentation in low-paying, insecure industries like retail, administration, frontline work. Rising costs of childcare, student loans, and biased hiring practices with AI. So this is one of the reasons why I say, learning AI is going to be very important. It's not, if you learn something about it, it won't replace you, but if you learn it, you can move into a different space. And in terms of your working, a lot of people are working from home. And so let me tell you the human impact and how, I'm going to tell you my story, and only so much of it I can share. But March 4th, I was laid off from my job. Now, for the last 17, 18 years, I have been working 9 to 5 and also building my business and building my platform, Voices of Black Grandmothers. I did both of them at the same time. But one of the things that I did when 17, 18 years ago, my husband had passed away in 2005. And so that meant I had to go back to work. And so I went back to work, I got a job, and my supervisor, uh, you know, they needed help with a particular software. So my supervisor that I had at that time, um, she told me, she said, if you learn this software, you'll always have a job, you'll always be employed. So that's what I did. So every job I got, when I left that job, every job I got, I followed the software that I was working with. And so March 4th, recently, I was laid off. I was a director of data management for this particular software, doing training, procedures, processes, and things like that. It came totally unexpected. There was no warning. Um, and I did leave with a package, so let me make that clear, but there was no warning. And, here I am working this job, you know, believing that I'm doing well in it. Um, but things changed. Now, I was not given a reason why, but things changed. So, what I'm saying is that what I was able to pivot into my business once that happened. Now, um, I know that, in recent conversations, what's been going on is that there's been some talk about, like if you're an entrepreneur, you've been building your business for years and it's not growing, it's not building, you should go back to work. So let me give my opinion on that. And I look at that two different ways. One way is it depends. It depends on where you are in your life. Your income. Do you have another income that you can, like for me, I was constantly building my business as I was working. And so I was able to pivot into my business once this happened. I was able to just pivot and begin to grow that because now I don't have a 9 to 5. I have more time to put into it. So I have been since March, I've gone to conferences, I've taken coaching classes. I have more scheduled to take, to take. I've done a lot of work in really defining, getting clarity about what is my business? What do I really do? And what do I want to do? Where am I going? What's my goal? I set, weekly goals. Even daily goals. I set daily goals, weekly goals. I set monthly goals, and then even semi-annual and annual goals. And every day I look at those goals and I see where I'm at with, progress. So it also depends on your family. You know, is it just you that you have to provide for? Do you have to provide for several family members? Do you have to provide for grandkids? It depends on where you are with your family. What kind of support do you have, with your family? Is this, sometimes you got to stop and think, well, is this is this where God has put me? Is it time for me? Is this my push to get out there and start the business that I always wanted to start? Or is this time for me to pivot into my purpose? So you think about that. Um, how determined are you to make it work? Um, are you willing to get up every day just as if you've got a job? Are you willing to get up every day and do the work? It's a lot of work. And you got to be determined to do that on a daily basis. the thing that I found is that the relief for me was I could make the decisions. I was my own boss. I am my own boss at this point. And I had to think about that when this happened to me back in March. It's like, I'm my own boss. I make the decisions. I just determine, what time I start work, and I determine how much work I want to get done. For me, I can sit in my computer all day, but I get the best work done when I first wake up in the morning, and probably by noon, I get my best work done. So by that time, and this was even how I had when I was working a 9 to 5, I pushed out whatever I needed to push out, like the first half of the day. And then the second half of the day was pretty much going over processes, procedures, making sure everything was intact, and planning for my next day. So, um, one of the other things I did was, here's what was really amazing, that I know God was watching out for me with this. When I was let go, I was given a coach, a business coach. And that was another one of the benefits with me being laid off. And I was having a conversation with her, and when we had our first meeting, they gave me 6 weeks of coaching for this person to help me find work. And I had a conversation with her, and I was very clear, and I said, let me say this right up front. I'm thinking I want to work in my purpose as opposed to like looking for a job right away. I will look for a job, but I want to try this first. And she asked me, had I started it? And I told her, I said, I have a platform, Voices of Black Grandmothers. And I began to explain to her some of the things I've done. And so she said, okay, hold on, let me shift gears a little bit. So that first 6 weeks after leaving my job was very important, because what happens is you're going through all different types of emotions. I call it, grief. Especially if I've been working since I was 13. I'm 63, so that's 50 years. So you get to a point where it's like, what do I do? How do I do this? Where am I going to, it used to be at the time with me, is like, if you lost a job, you were embarrassed to tell people that you lost a job. I was not that. It was like an awakening for me. It was like, this is my time. I got a short period to kind of figure this thing out, you know, and so those first 6 weeks was really me, finding out who I was, what I'm capable of. Is this something I want to do? Am I willing to work hard enough to get this done? And I decided to take a shot at it. And that's what I'm doing. And that's how I ended up coming across starting a podcast and everything, because I've done a lot of research. Now, everyone is not built for that, and so you got to realize that there are people who are built for a job, working a job, and they're very good at it. You have people who are built for entrepreneurship, and they're very good at it. You have people that are built for, being a stay-at-home mom. They're built for that, and they're very good at it. You have people, and here's the thing. If we think about, everyone is not going to be an entrepreneur. Everybody's not going to work a full-time job. So think about the fact that you know we have to have people in every industry, in every sector, because if everybody, think about, if everybody was an entrepreneur, who would be running the grocery stores unless an entrepreneur started a grocery store? So you got to think about, city services, things like that. So I don't say working a job is bad. Working a 9 to 5, for me, it paid my bills. It allowed me to travel. It allowed me stability, because I had a paycheck every 2 weeks that I knew was coming. As long as I showed up and did my job, I knew that check was coming. So a lot of people live in that space and they're okay with that. There's nothing wrong with that. If that is what serves you, then that's what you do. I don't put people down for that. Okay. It took care of me and my family, my three girls. I have 9 grandchildren. So the other part of that, and these are my opinions, the other part of that is go back to work. Go back to work. But here's the caveat to that. If you are an entrepreneur and you're working, your business is, a certain type of business, go back to work. If this is what you need to do, is fine. Go back to work. But what you do when you go back to work, make it work for you. Make it work for you. Utilize the resources that are available to you on that job. So, for instance, and like you might be there 6 months, you might be there a year. It may take you a year and a half, but if you have an entrepreneur mindset, you're going to be craving to go back into that space because you've been doing it and you're so comfortable with being your own boss. But here's the thing, and this is what I did when the 50 the years that I worked a 9 to 5. If there's a training, I took it. If there was a conference, I raised my hand to go to it. If there was information that I thought would help me in my business, I did it. I paid attention. And I always kept that in the forefront of my mind because a lot of people, even so, how jobs will give you, you have to take, every year you have to take these assessments and things like that. It might be harassment in the workplace or whatever. I took those and I found value in it because what I do know now is that it's going to help me in my business. So the other caveat to that is not coming directly out of your pocket. So that's a benefit. That's a huge benefit. So either way, um, you know, if you think about this in the two ways that I've just described, both of them, make your goal for you to win, and you will win. And if you have that mindset, um, it'll work for you. And then when you go back into running your business, you'll be ready, you'll be empowered to do it, you'll have more credentials, that you can bring into your business. You'll have more stability in building your business. So think about that thing. When you start thinking about your business, think about what it is that you struggle with. What part of your business did you struggle with? It could have been, most people will start a business. They're very good on the front end. They're very good with talking about their business. They're very good with um, explaining their business and getting the people, but that back end is struggling and suffering. Okay. So yeah, 300,000 women lost their jobs this year, but that doesn't mean we lose our power. It doesn't mean we lose our voice. And together, we're going to build a future that, no one can take away. I want you to have that mindset. So, what's the next step? What's our next step, in dealing with this and addressing it? Each of us has a role to play, whether it's reimagining our own career path, mentoring the next sister behind us, or raising our voices so policymakers can't ignore us. Our power is multiplied when we act. So choose one step, just one, and put it into action this week. Start tomorrow. If you want to start today, start today. But because together, we're not just surviving this moment, we're going to shape it into what we want to come next. So I want you to there's, I'm gonna, there's a link in my comment section. I want you to grab my free download, and it's 5 powerful steps of, what your next steps, what you need to work on, what you need to do. Grab that, go to that link in my comments and grab that free download. You can share it with others. I want you to also, there's also going to be a link down below for you to join my school community network, Boss Gigi's network. And that network is where there's going to be resources, tools, coaching, for that entrepreneur. Or if you're working a 9 to 5 and you're balancing a business, there's going to be resources in there for you to take. I'm going to be doing some coaching in that space. So I want you to make sure you join Boss Gigi's network on the school platform. Also, make sure that you subscribe, share, and click the bell so that you get notifications every Sunday. A new episode will be put up. One other thing I want to share with you, in my YouTube page, I have created an area called the Matriarchs Collection. And what that's going to be is not going to be podcast. It's going to be a collection of Black history information, videos, things like that. I will even be doing some Black history moments in there, and that's where they will be. So it makes sure that you go and visit. And anyone, if you've got something that you'd like for me to share, because this platform, today's Black grandmothers, will be the go-to platform for Black parenting, grandparenting, Black history, whatever you want to call it. So thank you for joining me today. And I look forward to seeing you in the school community. And I look forward to seeing you next week. Have a wonderful day.